you could see what I see. Our communities in unity. No frustration from brutality. With our black nation, a reality.
This is my perspective, it's my perspective, my perspective, my perspective, my perspective, my perspective, my perspective, it's my perspective, my perspective, my perspective, my perspective, my perspective, my perspective, it's my perspective, my perspective, it's my perspective.
Welcome everybody to another episode of the New African Perspective, the show that is dedicated to the liberation of new African people. I am your host, Brother Prophecy, and as always, I am so blessed because I am joined every week by the President and Vice President of the Republic of New Africa, none other than the beautiful, powerful queens.
Mama Ayo, free the land.
And Sister Salma Ott.
And we are a part of something called the New African Independence Movement. Well, let me back up a little bit. Because this is just not a regular show. This is going to be a special edition because we got a special guest in the house tonight. Who we got on our show today?
Baba Addis Ababa.
What?
Yes.
And for those who don't know, who is this brother?
This is the elder Baba that is a part of one of the RNA 11.
One of the original members of the RNA 11, and if y'all don't know about that, y'all about to find out today. But like I said, yeah, no doubt. But like I said before, we're a part of something called the New African Independence Movement. More specifically, we're all members of the Republic of New Africa. We are conscious citizens of the Republic of New Africa. For those of us who don't really understand citizenship and what it takes to be a citizen and what that actually means to be a citizen of the Republic of New Africa, can we shed some light on that?
Well, really, all black people that we in the previous show we went over why the Republic of New Africa, but all black people living here in the United States of America, whose ancestors were enslaved, are citizens of the Republic of New Africa. What we are conscious citizens of the Republic of New Africa. That means that you have vowed to stand on the principles and assist in building the Republic of New Africa. And that's a process.
No doubt. So now we're all citizens of the Republic of New Africa. It's your nation. It's not just our nation, it's our nation.
That's right.
There's of course different levels of citizenship because even though you're automatically a citizen, we encourage you to find out more about why we are saying that we deserve and we are claiming the 5 states in the South. There are certain rights that you have as a citizen being a part of the Republic of New Africa. That right is you have the right to information. You have the right to decide whether you want to be in the national territory, which is the 5 states in the South. You have a right to repatriate to Africa, your ancestral homeland. You have a right to be here as an indigenous part of the nation, which means I'm going to stay on this land. I'm going to fight for this land. I'm going to reclaim my indigenous status. And you also have the right to stay inside of the bowels of America. You have that right. It is your decision. But as a citizen, we encourage you to study. To study why we claim ourselves a provisional government, how that came about, what is expected of you, because as a citizen, all governments, and we are a government, run on taxes. We ask you to go through what we call a training program to go into work, study, and training, and to encourage your children and your children's children. Because whether you like it or not, we have voting every 3 years. And as long as you are 16 years of age, and you say that I want to vote, you can vote in our elections. So there are all kinds of levels to citizenship.
No doubt. Great information. So, Sister Ma'at, what do we have on tap My bad. Madam President. Let me get it right. What do we have on tap for our show today?
Well, of course, in our Cadre Corner, we're going to be going over our Constitution of the Provisional Government of the Republic of New Africa, which we call the Code of Umoja. Yes, we do have a constitution. So we'll be going into that. And then, of course, in our Black Power Files, we will be honoring the infamous collective, the RNA 11,
Yes.
and which you will find out more about today.
Yes.
Thoroughly. And then, of course, our discussion topic, we'll be meeting with our Elder Baba Addis Ababa later on.
Wow.
So what's on tap for the hot topics before we get into that?
I guess we do need to talk about a few things that have happened. We have a lot of high profile cases dealing with police murders, police brutality, and white supremacists in general. Last week we told about how in the Ahmaud Arbery case, they had 12 jurors, 11 of them are white, one of them black, which like they're setting the scene up for the old okie doke like they always do. Well, just last week, the district attorney in Georgia, former district attorney who was involved in the Ahmaud Arbery case, actually was indicted and arrested, y'all, for violating her oath as a public officer. Miss Jackie Johnson. Now I know that sounds like a black lady, but she's not. She's not. Jackie Johnson was charged because she was the individual who actually ordered police officers not to arrest Travis McMichael. Now, Travis McMichael is the son of Greg McMichael, which is the former police department, and both of them ran down Brother Arbery and murdered him in cold blood while he was jogging, really. She ordered police officers not to charge them. Now, if you remember, police, after they murdered this brother in cold blood and filmed it, police came, looked at the film, said, okay, there ain't no problem here, and let them go by their business. And they were free for the next couple of months until everything kind of exploded with the George Floyd thing, and the case was revisited, and the video was actually leaked, and they were forced to actually do something. So she's actually finally been arrested for this thing, but it just seems like it's been a setup from the start, from every step of the way in the case. They've been trying to protect these murderers, these white supremacists, these evil, individual. What are y'all thoughts on this?
We live in the belly of the beast. This is what they're supposed to do. Honestly, y'all, this is the reason why it's very important for us to build for self. We should never be surprised, never look for justice from your oppressor. Your oppressor is not going to give you justice. Okay? This is one of the main reasons why it is important for us to build for self. Period. We don't belong here. We don't belong in the jurisdiction of these people. We will never get justice. We're going to keep hearing the same story twisted a different way. What you call them, Mama Ayo, lynchings?
Yes.
These are the modern day lynchings that we are experiencing, and we're going to continue to experience unless we, as new African people, get extremely active and know our self-worth. To me, it's a reflection of how we view ourselves in terms of what's happening and what's going on, and we have the power to shift it. So in terms of pouring libation and appeasing he's a now ancestor and all the other young brothers and sisters for centuries upon centuries who have lost their lives at the hands of their oppressor.
Yes,
The only way to appease is for us to build for self and to get out of her.
Yes. Well, I just wanted to piggyback on that, or veggie back on it. And of course, this is another example, which we call another receipt, of how this system, white supremacy, racism, capitalism, and imperialism, and we are neocolonial captive subjects at this particular time. Here is another example where there's one law for people who are the descendants of enslaved Africans, And there's another law for the people who were the captors, who were the slave masters, who were the ones who took this country and had us enslaved in chains under chattel slavery for 400 years. When did you think that was ever going to change, brothers and sisters, comrades? Here is another example, and this particular case is making national attention. I know that you and I have tons and tons of cases right in our individual cities and towns that we can cite as crimes against humanity.
That's a really good point, because one thing that I always think about is, if these idiots were not dumb enough to film them murdering this brother, we would have never known about it. Police wasn't trying to do anything about it. The only reason why we know something about it today was somebody leaked the video. Yes. You know, they didn't release it. Somebody leaked it. And I'm pretty sure, you know, that person, whoever leaked it, is under a whole lot of pressure, but we appreciate them doing the right thing on that. So, you know, it's kind of crazy, but, you know, that's not the only case that's been going on. We have a case of a white guy in, Kenosha, Wisconsin? Kenosha. Who went to a protest against the shooting in the back of Jacob Blake, like 7 times in the back. Came down there with an AR-15 and ended up shooting 3 people, killing 2 of them, and he walked straight past the police and went home. Well, this case is finally started. Now, in his particular case, a lot of people are upset with the judge because they're claiming that this particular judge is biased, and he's done couple of things, not a couple of things, but he almost has set a pattern of behavior that is extremely suspicious, to say the least. I'm just talk about some of the things that he's done. At the beginning of the case, he refused to allow the actual victims of Kyle Rittenhouse, who were murdered, the murder victims, to be referred to as victims. So basically he said, hey, these people who were murdered, you can't even call them victims, which automatically bias your case, because if they're not victims, then you're automatically saying that the person who murdered them were justified.
Exactly.
Also, at the beginning of the defense of Kyle Rittenhouse, his first witness, as he was being called to the stand, he made the entire courtroom give this man a round of applause. Now, let me give you some context to that. It was Veterans Day, and the judge asked everybody in the courtroom, is there any veterans here? No one raised their hands. He said, well, the guy who's about to testify is a veteran. He's in the military. And I want y'all to give everybody in the military a round of applause. And the whole courtroom gave them a round of applause, which automatically biased everything. Now, I don't have a problem with somebody acknowledging somebody who's in the military or something. That's cool, whatever. But not right before a murder trial, not right before a murder testimony. You're just going to raise this guy up like he's some,
authority.
Yeah, exactly. Automatically giving him a certain level of credibility to the witnesses,
Exactly.
But that's not all.
What else? Oh,
that's not all. I forgot. But Rittenhouse made a statement before he even bought his gun. He said that he wanted to buy an AR-15 so he could shoot some individuals who were stealing, shoplifting. Basically, the judge did not even allow that statement to be read to the jury. But even though that kind of speaks to the state of mind of Rittenhouse, because he came to a protest where one of the biggest complaints by certain people in protests are looting and rioting and these type of things, and they want to protect property. Well, he already spoke prior to the protest even happening of his desire to protect property. But the judge didn't even allow it. Finally, when the prosecutor was cross-examining Rittenhouse, and he kind of had him kind of stumbling, when they really get into you and you start kind of stuttering and stumbling, the judge came to his rescue. Stopped to say, hold on, wait. Why are we even talking about that? Then we already talk about that, and the prosecutor was like, no, I'm trying to get at this. This is what I'm getting at. And the judge basically said, oh, well, hurry it up. It's a saying that I heard when I came to Memphis. Where they do that at? You know what I'm saying?
Where they do that?
Exactly, where they do that at? So it just seems like, first of all, for the record, so it won't be any surprise, Rittenhouse is getting off. He may be charged with some lesser charges. He'll probably get convicted on the guns charges, because that's pretty slam dunk on that. He wasn't supposed to even have the gun. But the murder charges, no, you can forget about that. Not going to happen. What do you think about this judge? It's...
First of all, the judge is an old white man, right? Correct?
Correct.
Yes, I thought I saw a picture of an old white man. Rittenhouse is a 70-year-old white male, correct?
Correct.
They take care of their own. He look at him as a young white male. Oh, I don't want his life to go down the drain. Just like how we look at our young, we don't want their life to go down the drain. He don't want his life to go down the drain. So therefore, he's going to protect him. That's his family.
And the family may have money, a lot of support, because at the end of the day, comrades, we know again, and I'm going to keep reiterating it, is the justice system really just? Is it fair and equal to all according to the U.S. Constitution? We already know that it is not. You're supposed to be assumed innocent until proven guilty. When we have cases against Africans, new African people, we always are assumed guilty. When you have cases of white aggression against people, new Africans, they're always never going to be given the same type of sentencing that we receive for much less of our offenses. There's a phrase that the time doesn't fit the crime. You have murdered someone, you should at least get some type of sentencing, especially since it wasn't self-defense. Is that going to happen in the case of Rittenhouse? Is it going to happen, is my question.
Did he murder 2 or 3?
He shot 3, 2 of them died.
Two of them died, so that's 2 lives gone.
And attempted murder.
Mm-hmm.
Attempted murder and murder. 2 times over. So the exchange is your whole life. 2 of your whole lives. That is the even exchange.
According to this system.
That's the balance. That's the scale.
As far as how the judge is approaching this, I always look at when Mike Brown was murdered, when Trayvon Martin was murdered, when Tamir Rice was murdered. Look at how they treated murdered victims. They were called thugs. These are the big bag boogeymen. Nobody coming to their defense. They the cities have to explode before you even get attention to these cases, to these murder victims. But you have somebody who was part of someone that the system wants to protect, doing what many people feel is a good deed. Many people have articulated that they are in support of not only his defense but actually what this guy did. And they just come and they cuddle him and they want to protect him. So it's just plain sight. Wow. These things keep on happening over and over and over and over again, and it's going to continue.
Would he be considered a mass murderer, even though he only killed 2 and attempted to kill more? Is he considered a mass murderer?
That's a good question.
When you go into shopping malls, that was a public event, so why isn't he being called a mass murderer?
Well, we're calling him a mass murderer.
Exactly.
We can call him that in our media.
I agree.
So, but we don't want to take up too much time because we have a special guest we have to get to in a little while. But before we do that, we have a Cadre Corner coming up, and we're going to talk about what we're going to talk about.
The Code of Umoja of the Provisional Government of the Republic of New Africa.
What?
Free the land.
Because we are a nation, and a nation has a constitution, and we'll be right back after this.
Gosh.
Imagine your life with no drama. You live with no trauma. Your chest got more cum. Live in our own. We all know the problems. We can see them. We can feel them. They're all around us. But aren't you tired of just talking about the problem? Let's talk about the solution.
Free the land. Join us for New African Nation Day 54, March 25th through 27th, 2022, in Birmingham, Alabama. Free the land. Study the writings, speeches, documents of our freedom fighters in order to free our neo-colonialized minds. This is the Cadre Corner. Free the land. This, of course, is the Cadre Corner. What document are we getting ready to talk about today? Our Code of Umoja, which was, of course, developed by many people, and we give gratitude, much gratitude, a few years after the Declaration of Independence, of course. What is the Code of Umoja? It is called the Code of Unity, because Umoja means unity. And it goes through the levels of citizenship. It goes through what is a population district, because this is how we're setting ourselves up. Of course, it begins with the preamble and the Declaration of Independence, as well as the New African Creed. And then we go through our different levels of what we talk about, who is supposed to be a part of the provisional government, because we're looking at, of course, the ministerial state, which is the PRLC. We have the People's Center Council. We also have, of course, the judges, of course, the judging part of our government. And it is one of the things that is wonderful about this document is that it lays out the framework, at least a foundation, as to how we are to be set up, that we are definitely practicing collective leadership, which is a really, really key term. Collective leadership. Yes, we do have presidents, vice presidents, representatives, conciliators, ministers. We have an election commission. We have all the different forms of government, and yet the really, really wonderful part about this particular document, and it's beautiful the more you read it, is that we focus on collective leadership. Collective leadership, and yes, there is structure. And of course, the highest power that we say are the New African citizens, the New African citizens. So when you begin to study this document, some do agree, some don't agree, but we have a way of dealing with problems in the community, problems in the unit. If you plan on running for government, which our elections are every 3 years, it tells you how you can push yourself into that arena, that you have to be part of a New African formation, a New African formation, a New African independence movement formation. So it allows for those individuals, those comrades, brothers and sisters who believe in our right to have these 5 states in the South, to live upon the land, work upon the land, defend the land. And so I encourage all New Africans to go to the website, www.pgrna.com. Go ahead and register, create your login number, take the census, and begin to communicate with the government by asking questions, by declaring that you want more information, and be connected with us. And at that, Code of Umoja.
All right, that's the Code of Umoja. Extremely important document, something that we all need to look at and study, examine. Where can we see that again?
On the website for the provisional government, it is pg-rna.com.
And if you're confused about it, it's right down here. But it's about that time.
Yes.
We got a special guest. Who's our special guest?
Ebo Baba, Addis Ababa, RNA 11. In the house.
When we come back right after this, free the land.
By any means.
I will.
I'm just doing my thing, trying to live stress free. Shaking all them haters off, they be trying to test me. I ain't front y'all, I'm just trying to be the best me. Trying to make the world better, but hey, that's just me. I ain't really got time to hate the next man, cause negative people make you feel less than.
Europeans murdered 98% of the indigenous population right here in Turtle Island in order to steal the land. An entire nation of African people were captured and forced into a brutal system of chattel slavery just so they could work and cultivate the land. All wars are fought over land, not over terrorism, not over religion, not even to win the hearts and minds of the people, but for the actual land and the resources within the land. So it is safe to say that land is the foundation to all freedom. So if we truly want to be free, then our struggle is for land. Free the land.
Leaders, scholars, freedom fighters, all those soldiers who've been struggling for the liberation of black people. This is the Black Power 5.
My name is Addis Ababa. I'm known for being one of the RNA 11. We were citizens of the Republic of New Africa, and we were attacked August 18th, 1971 in Jackson, Mississippi by the FBI, police, along with vigilantes that were with them as well. Like the KKK and other vigilantes, I found that out when I was being released from Parchment. The sergeant of one of the camps told me that he was down there that day, and he wasn't the police and he wasn't the FBI. It was the sergeant of the camp told me that he was there. Well, I had been militant up in Detroit, Michigan for quite a while, since I was a teenager in high school. And I was introduced to the Republic of New Africa when I was about 21 years old. That and the Black Panthers went a little earlier. And I was doing things with the Black Panthers and the Republic of New Africa in Detroit in 1971. I was involved with both of those groups in Detroit. I was working in a summer program with some kids in a summer program, and we had some RNA over there with us coming to New Africa, and they were working with the gang population in that area, trying to educate them, And I was already dealing with the Black Panthers as well, so I gravitated to working with them as well, and we were doing some things in the community then, like there was a bad drug problem in the community during that time. There was a lot of heroin houses in the area on the east side of Detroit. There was a police department called Dress Squad that was involved in setting up ambushes and killing young people, and was involved in protecting drug houses as well. So I had hooked up with some guys, and we had targeted some drug houses that the police were involved in, and we were running up in there and robbing them and taking, with guns and flushing the dope down the toilet and taking the money. And I was like 21 years old, and they were lucky if they were up on the first floor, because they were going out the window regardless. And what happened is that we had been pinpointed by the police, and there was some shootouts at nighttime where the police were riding down the alley shooting into the house, and we were returning fire, and a hit was put out on me because they said I was the leader of one of the groups, and they knew where we were because we had been given a apartment building by a dentist who was concerned about the drugs in the neighborhood, and he just gave us the apartment building. And the people in the neighborhood were bringing us food to eat. So, you know, we were trying to liberate the area, you know, where we were living at. And we were young, and it was about 11 of us, and, you know. And we had some mentors, some older gentlemen that was helping us, you know, organize. So there was a hit out on me. So I decided to leave and go to Mississippi with the Republic of New Africa.
You was basically in Jackson to get away from what was going on.
Get away from it because it was a hit out on me, and some people would already had disappeared, you know, and so, you know, I said, well, let me go, and so I went down there, and
who put the hit out on you? Do you know? Why can't you say?
They said the police. Matter of fact, the stress squad, they were causing so much trouble that Coleman Young ran for mayor, and he became the first black mayor of Detroit, Michigan, because he got rid of it. Because they was setting up and they was killing young people. You know, or one of them would dress like a drunk with a $20 bill hanging out his back pocket over in the ghetto. And you know, once somebody got $20 hanging in your back pocket, or white and drunk, as soon as somebody went, then the police would come out and kill. And they was killing quite a few young people that way. They were setting them up. And they were running the drug houses. They were protecting the drug houses as well up in Detroit. And so we were it was a group of about 7 of us, and we were kind of like throwing a hole into their operation, you know. And eventually, after I left, it got even more deeper, you know. Some young people even were killed and thrown in jail because of that. So I went down to Mississippi to get away, and the vice president of the Republic of New Africa met me because he was on his way to Jackson, Mississippi, you know, for a meeting. You know, and we ran into ambush. They were actually having a meeting down there of the president, vice president, and of the ministers in America. They were actually having a meeting there, which gave the FBI and the police and other people, you know, a chance to attack them. And I was with them. Well, there was a guy who had robbed a gas station up in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Staggerly. I think I remember that's his name. And somehow he found his way to Jackson, Mississippi. With the RNA. What we found out later on, that he was brought down to Jackson, Mississippi by COINTELPRO. They were planning him in the house so they could have a justification for raiding the house looking for a murder. Before I got there, they had thrown him out the house because he was causing trouble in the community. You know, they say, oh, wait a minute, you know, you call him, you know, no, They didn't know that he was wanted for murder. So they kicked him out the house. So the FBI felt that now, well, they knew he was gone because we had been infiltrated. But it was not only him, but it was other agents around. And so they felt it was time to raid the house right then and to attack us on August 18th, 1971. And we had our presidential, we had our embassy next to Jackson State University, where a couple of years before they had shot up Jackson State. Some of the same police attacked Jackson state as well. But our president and our minister of information and our minister of defense and another gentleman were in that house, and there was 7 of us in the other house, which makes up 11, RNA 11. We were asleep when we heard it was at the break of dawn. I heard 28. I heard the word jump. The word jump came about. The word jump came about after the Black Fred Hampton and Mark Clark were attacked in their sleep. Whenever you heard the word jump, that means, grab your weapons, you're being attacked. They said they gave us a minute to come out, but I didn't hear. I was woke up when I heard 28, 27, and I heard Kareem holler, jump. And I grabbed my weapon, and they counted down, and we were just waking up, and before we could get our bearings together, they began to shoot in the house. There was no negotiation, nothing. They didn't say who they were looking for, that they were there looking for somebody named so-and-so and so-and-so. They just say, come out the house. And they began to shoot in the house and, shoot. They opened fire on us. And we returned to fire. I was in the kitchen, and once we engaged them, they shot through the window. Some type of missile through the window. It was red with a yellow cap to it, with wings on the back. It's about this. Some people say it was a tear gas canister, but all I know, it came. Well, I shot out the window first. I was engaging, and then and when I ducked down, because they all began aiming at me, shot the missile. It went into the refrigerator, went in the refrigerator. If that sucker would have hit me, I know I was dead, because it went in the refrigerator popped open. I was taking a lot of fire because it was a wooden house. I was taking a lot of fire, so I crawled into the kitchen. Crawled into the living room, and I could see the curtains in the living room. I was crawling in the dining room, but I could look in the living room and see the curtains up in the air, because they were shooting so many rounds, and we were on like kind of an incline, so a lot of bullets was popping off the walls, and plaster was, they were firing, because there was over 100 police and FBI out there. So they was laying down fire on us, and so I saw Kareem crawling around the corner into a bedroom, and when I followed them, and when we got to the bedroom, I looked into the closet, and they were going down in the closet. And because we're in Mississippi, and they don't have basements, right? They have like what they call rat traps. When I crawled down in there, everybody, the 7 were there. The 2 sisters were in a ditch and being protected by one brother, and then it was the other 3 of us. We could see out the back, and they were shooting up at the house. So we laid down fire there, and I don't know, about for another 5 minutes, 10 minutes or so, they didn't know where the fire was coming from. They kept shooting up, and then they fell back and they quit firing, and then they got to hollering about, Amari Obadelli, where are you? Amari. And they were directing a lot of that fire into the room that they thought was Amari Obadelli's, the president's room. They directed a lot of fire into that room. And after, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes, something like that. We ran out of bullets, and we decided to surrender because we ran out of bullets. And we remembered little Bobby Hutton of the Black Panthers when him and Eldridge Cleaver was up under there, and little Bobby came out, and they shot him. So people were kind of reluctant to go out. We said, no, I'm not going out there. So I just, I was pretty geeked up. I was like, I was just willing to die. I mean, but to die, and so I crawled out. And next to us there was a fence. The police, the FBI had cut a hole in the fence, and they directed me to come over to the hole. They had me under. So I went there, and after that, the other 5, they came out. We left our guns up under the porch, and we came out. Then they took us out front and began to, interrogate us, beat us. And from there, they took us on to jail. And some interesting things happened after we came out the house. They sat us on the corner, the 7 of us, and they took the ties and they handcuffed us. Then they began to, interrogate us and kick us in the back and things like that. And we were out there for about 15 minutes, and then a undercover police car pulled up, and the police got out and popped the back of the trunk, and they pulled out cases. 24 packs of Miller High Life, and they began to pass it around to the police. And this is after 2 police were wounded. Our FBI was wounded. The police was wounded, and another police was clearly, he eventually died. This after they think they were celebrating the battle, and then a sergeant came and said, what the fuck are you doing? We got our ass kicked. My friend is dead. And I got a kind of chuckle out of that during the tragedy, because my head laid down. I'm looking at Hikima, and I kind of laughed about that, And then they threw the beer back in the car, in the uncovered car, and they drove off. Then they came and they put us in the pack, and we saw Army personnel carrier there. They had a little old gun up on top. A 60 caliber machine gun was on top. They came there, to massacre us, man. And they threw us in the back of the paddy wagon, and they threw a tear gas canister back there, And the next morning, they marched us in chains, with feet in chains and hands in chains. The next morning, they marched us to the courthouse, and white folks was clapping, they were clapping. And then we began our trials separately. The first 2, Hikima and Ofaga, went to trial. They tried to fight the case, and they was found guilty, and they got life. They all came back, and by that time, my lawyer was working. And I didn't know it then, but I found out years later that my lawyer was a friend of the prosecutors, and I didn't know that. They had went to school. So I pleaded guilty to shooting, because I was gonna get life. Yeah, they're gonna give me life too. I figured, well, why should? And we all talked about it while we were locked up, and Hikima and Ofaga said, man, ain't no use you getting life. If you can make a deal and not get life. And I said, yeah, I shot. They wanted me to say that Omari Odeli told me to shoot the president. I said, no, Omari didn't tell me to shoot. I shot because you people were shooting at me. I'm defending myself. Ain't nobody told me to do nothing. So they gave me a 12-year sentence. Then when we all went to federal court, they let us fight our federal court together. We all fought it together. And we all were found guilty for shooting at the federal officers, and we all got 12 years. We all got 12 years, and we were all out of prison in 10 years. I did 9 years. The three other brothers did 10 years.
What it should be compared to what it is, you know what I'm saying? Man, shit ain't got to be like it is. We can change it. Yeah, they got it bumping.
Hello, my name is Dr. Christina Parks. I received my PhD in cellular and molecular biology right here in the state of Michigan from University of Michigan Medical School. And so I'm very well versed in the science of both these mRNA, gene therapy, vaccines, this kind of technology. What I want to address today in this limited time is the fact that vaccine requirements and mandates are based on the faulty assumption that the vaccines in question prevent transmission of the pathogen. Do the vaccines for COVID prevent transmission? No. In fact, they were never designed to do that. CDC Director Walensky basically said that these vaccines have no ability to prevent infection by and transmission of the Delta variant. Our policy needs not to be built on the hope of what we think something we want it to do, but what the data actually tell us.
All right, that was a mind-blowing interview right there. I mean, we learned so much. So now you don't have to just take our word for it. You know, we told you about the mighty historic Republic of New Africa and everything that we've been through, and how the government basically went to war with us, and everything that so many of our great freedom fighters went through. But you just had a first-hand account of it.
Absolutely.
Right there.
And learned a lot. This is not, for me, I have not seen a write-up about what has happened. So it's really good to have an elder to just kind of walk us through what actually went on. So I'm just really just kind of amazed by it. It's an amazing story. It's an amazing event.
And for me personally, I'm already fiery. It ignites. It just like, you know how you'll have embers blowing and then you go and then fire come up. That's all it do. Yes, it does. Just gives me the fire to, like, you know, so many of our elders and our ancestors put their lives on the line for just our basic right of being free and independent, our birthright, our human right. Yes. Yeah. You know? So yeah, it's very encouraging, it's inspiring, and it makes me not want to have them go through that for nothing at all, you know.
But it also shows that when the government aggressed upon the members of the provisional government, this was a victory. Even though, yes, they had to go to jail eventually, but it was a victory because it was a shootout, and they were victorious. Them brothers and sisters were victorious. Yeah, big shout out. Ashe.
Show you the necessity to not just get ready, but to stay ready. You know, with all more than just studying, you got to do some training. That's why we talk about work, study, and training. You know what I'm saying? Yes. But at that, one last thing I will say, this is a great example of how we should make sure that we always value our elders while we have them. You know, all the elders who've been there, who have all the been through the storm, we need to make sure that we stay tight to them and gain all the information and all the knowledge and everything, so we can make sure that we can have it and pass it on and build upon it, so we won't have to continue to reinvent the wheel. The wheel's already been created. We just got to add on to it. Yes. And with that, my name is Brother Prophecy, here for Madam President and Madam Vice President Sama Ott and Mama Ayodele. This is the New African Perspective. Free the land.
I will.
By any and all means necessary.
Demanding freedom, I mean right now. Tired of George Floyd's in the mic round. By any means necessary might sound like I'm ready to go to war, I mean right now. They wanna see me quiet.